Okay, good evening. I'm so happy to see you guys in this room here with me tonight. This is long awaited moment, and I'm happy to have Dr. Keny Bastien and Chris Green in the room with me tonight. This platform that we are using right now was created and initiated by Chris. Well, his name is Christopher Green, but I like to call him Chris. And myself, in order for us to have conversations and reflections about health. That's why we have that name for this platform. And we, while you're alive, you're experiencing stuff, and you realize that you become curious about a lot of different things about your own body and about health and so on. And we thought that Mr. Dr. Keny Bastien has a wealth of knowledge, and he will be the ideal person to enlighten us and to give us information and guidance. So we are happy to have you with us tonight, Dr. Bastien.
Me too. Me too. It's a real pleasure to be with you and to be part of this a wonderful initiative, reflection and conversation on health. And tonight, as I was discussing with you previously, I mentioned that maybe the best way to initiate this is to start with the topic, the language of the body.
Yeah, I'm curious. I would love to know the language of the body. I would like to know if it's French or German or Dutch.
I think it's English, but let's see.
You think it's English?
Well, you'll be surprised. The body speak, the language of the body imply approximately 9 billions language.
Wow. Okay.
What do I mean by that? Each one of us, the body creates its own language, its own code with you. But it's you to learn to speak the language of your own body. I can't learn the language of your body. So each one of us, and that's why I say it's highly personal, and it's a result of legitimate curiosity, patience, respect, and also particularly is the result of systematic scientific knowledge. And what do I mean by that? There are fundamentals that we need to learn. We need to know the structure of the body before understanding the language of the body. As we look at each other, we say that we have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, and 2 ears. That means 7 items in your face. And curiously enough, 7 items means perfection. And when you go to your neck, and now again, you need to understand the definition of perfection. What is the definition of perfection? Something is called perfect. It's something that you've done to which you cannot add or retrieve anything. It's perfect. You cannot add or remove anything to, or from. So that's what you call perfect. If I have an appointment with you at 7 o'clock in the morning at a certain location, and both of us, we reach that location at that 7 o'clock, this is a perfect transaction. There's nothing to add or to remove from that. It's perfect. And that's why God considers us as perfectible. We can be perfected. We many times in life, we achieve perfection, but we don't identify it as such. And that's why a mistake many people make is to believe that perfection is not possible. That's not true, because God asked us to be perfect. So if God asked us to be perfect, perfection is possible. So we just need to reach that stage where we understand the definition of the concept. Now, let me go on. The first thing, in order to understand the language of your body, you need to understand the structure of the body. The structure of the body is your skeleton, your muscles, your nerves, your lymphatic system, your circulatory system, your digestive system, and your endocrine system. You have a proliferation of system in your body. You need to understand how the structure works. You need to understand how the system works. So that's how you begin your understanding of the language of your body. Now you have a set of symptoms, you have a set of functions. You see, we're talking now about structure, we're talking about system, and we have functions and we have symptoms. Functions and symptoms are two different things. You see, when you have headache, okay, the pain that we experience is a symptom. But what is the function behind that symptom? The headache can be caused by several factors. First of all, to begin with, is inflammation. Inflammation is one of the language of the body. The set of the language, what you call the language of the body, is the set of reactions that the body manifests when there is any type of stimulus that aggress the body and that trigger a specific answer of the body. Stress is something that is defined as a stimulus that trigger non-specific reaction to the body. And that's why at the level of the body, you have two types of inflammation. You have non-specific inflammatory reaction that can become chronic, and that becomes then a specific type of inflammation related or associated with a specific type of degeneration or dysfunction. So our body is sophisticated, our body is beautiful. And that's why gradually we look at those things and say, wow. Now, don't you see that when you are stressed, it's difficult for you to eat? When you are in fear, some people, I know some people under stress, they eat a lot.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I know. But when you are stressed, you're in fear. When you are in fear is a type of stress. It depends which type of stress. That's what we need to say. If you stress because of life or work and things like that, or you're frustrated, you have to make a difference between frustration and stress. Frustration can cause stress, but frustration can cause you to eat a lot. Some people, for example, because they don't make love, their sexual life is dead. But those people eat sweet all the time because they're looking for compensation. So the frustration, the poor sexual life can induce you to develop a great appetite or to eat in a pathological way. You see, you develop that attitude, you don't stop eating. So that can be type of response to stress. And that also is a language. Yeah, that's a personal language. It's the way you react to stress. Some people will react to stress differently. They will have sex all the time without discrimination because the sex become for them an outlet to release their frustration or their stress. A lot of young girls, they do that. They have sex with different partners because they use sexual interaction, intercourse to release their stress. It's like an outlet, and they become, those people most of the time are highly infected with STD. So because they have no discrimination and they don't respect themselves. The language of the body can be inflammation, proliferation of mucus. You have a certain type of language that is totally different. It's a biological answer of the body to specific type of crisis, or also a reaction to food or to drugs. So each time that you take any drug that the body refuses, the first reaction is proliferation of mucus and also inflammation. this is a type of language of the body. When, for example, you don't know, you don't have a clear understanding of what we call your metabolic profile. When you don't have that knowledge of your metabolic profile, what will happen to you? You may end up eating food that are not appropriate to your metabolic profile. And that is more common than anything else. I'm talking about the biological language of the body, because those type of answer that your body offer to certain type of stimulus that the body is exposed to. So that is a type of language that we should learn. So that's why it's become important for us to identify our metabolic profile. It's important for us to know our blood type. And it's important also for us to understand what is our biochemical individuality. The biochemical individuality is how much of a nutrients that your body need on a daily basis. If you don't supply that nutrient on a daily basis, you're going to age, and you're going to be exposed to a certain type of disease, and also long-term degenerative condition.
Whoa, Doc,
See,
this is a lot of information
it's
here. I have been making notes because I didn't want to interrupt. Chris, you wanted to say something?
yeah, I agree with you. A mouthful of brain is already wow. You mentioned Doc with the languages, the language of the body, and then I believe you mentioned there are functions, and then there are symptoms. If I'm not mistaken, you spoke about function and symptoms. Um, I want to understand both the function and the symptom can be considered languages of the body, or language would be considered a function. Because I know, of course, the symptoms would be the head, the maybe the mucus or the headache. But what is causing, or what is causing that would be the function. I'm just trying to make sure I'm following what you're saying, because there's a lot of information. So try to digest it and go through what you're saying. Do you mind going over the functions and the symptoms part, and as it relates to the language of the body?
Absolutely. The functions of the body. Let's take, for example, the stomach. The stomach, the first thing you need to know, the first function of the body, of the stomach particularly, is to create. You see, I'm talking about function. That means creation, activity, production. Is to create an environment with its definite pH. So that environment with that definite pH has to do with the secretion of the gastric juices that come from specific glands inside the stomach, the secretion of hydrochloric acid, and the gastric juices. Those are the type of secretive functions of the stomach to create that pH 2, which is an acidic pH. Strangely enough, the hydrochloric acid, with creating a pH 2, is strong enough to melt away the stomach itself. Because you take any acid with a pH 2, it will melt a battery. But in the body is so wonderful, and this is where all the glory go to God. Each day of our lives, we are producing that type of acid, hydrochloric acid, that has the potential to destroy all the flesh of the stomach. It doesn't happen. Okay, so that's what I call function. But the hydrochloric acid by itself has also the power to destroy all the bacteria, but it won't destroy the lining of your stomach.
So if I may ask, Doc, as we're talking about hydrochloric acid and the stomach, so that's the function. Where there's a imbalance or something that's going wrong there would be when somebody's experiencing maybe acid reflux, and you're feeling that, would that be now a symptom of something going bad? Is that an example of a symptom of something going bad in
Or
that process?
ulcers?
Okay. You just didn't let me finish, but it's okay.
I apologize.
So I present to you the function. Now I'm going to explain to you the symptoms. When you eat your food, if for some reason the secretion of gastric juices and hydrochloric acid is not sufficient, because it could happen that because of your lifestyle, the degree of stress, lack of sleep, most of those functions are altered, and the body finds itself in a situation where it has lost, the stomach particularly has lost the ability to destroy the bacteria coming from the food you eat. So those bacteria coming from the food you eat, let me give you an example. You're going to end up with gastric juices. You know why you end up with gastric juices? Because you eat too late. And you eat your Kentucky Fried Chicken at 10 o'clock in the evening. So the stomach is no longer ready to produce those gastric juices, because that's something it does in the morning between 7 and 9. There's a biological clock right there. 7 and 9 in the morning, your stomach is ready to, if you put a cow in your stomach, the body will dissolve it. It's such like that. But because you keep eating late at night and the wrong food, now the bacteria will survive at that moment because they won't be destroyed by the acid active. They won't be destroyed by the hydrochloric acid. But those bacteria, when they remain too long in the stomach, and that trigger fermentation in the stomach, and those bacteria will begin to deteriorate and release what we call lactic acid. It is that lactic acid that is going to destroy the lining of your stomach. So it's not the hydrochloric acid, and this is what is extremely beautiful. It's not the hydrochloric acid that is more potent to destroy the bacteria. It's the lactic acid coming from the bacteria that will attack the lining of your stomach.
Whoa. So, Doc, when we talk about probiotics and prebiotics, those are what? Aren't they bacteria too, but good bacteria?
Those are good bacteria, but let's not go away from the topic.
I understand.
Let's go back there, because now we are trying to establish the difference between functions and symptoms.
Okay.
All right. The function is the ability for the body to produce the gastric juices and then to perform its function normally. And you need to take into consideration the biological clock. So you need to know your responsibility is to associate your behavior with the functions of the body. When you don't do that, you're going to create a lot of symptoms, because your stomach is going to be extremely mad at you, because now the function that is supposed to take place in the morning, you want the stomach to produce hydrochloric acid and gastric juices and enzymes to digest your protein in the evening. It's total foolishness. So now the reaction is you're going to experience symptoms of fermentation, which produce the acid reflux and gastric ulcers. So those are symptoms of a dysfunction. So that's the difference between symptoms and function. Now, most of the time you experience symptoms because there is a breakdown of the functions. And the breakdown of the function happens because there is something missing. There is a deficiency taking place.
And a lot of times we treat the symptom and we don't align our lifestyle with the function.
No, it's not you. It's the way the medical system. You have to understand that all the doctors have been trained with the Rockefeller curriculum. All the doctors and all over the world, because everybody thinks that United States provide the highest level of medical training. And that's why all the doctors, they want to go to United States, they want to go. But if you consider the ranking of the health system in the world, many people don't know that Japan is the first country.
Japan?
Yes, number one.
Okay.
And after Japan, you have Switzerland.
Wow.
All right. So America is ranked 17.
Wow.
But we are so stupid on our side here. Anytime that we sick, we go to United States to seek medical attention.
We
You
should go to
see,
Japan then.
well, that's the best place to go.
Wow.
What about
Yeah.
Cuba, Doc?
Cuba has a great reputation because they have a social medicine, but that doesn't mean they have the best medicine. No, and the reason I say that, I take care of a lot of Cubans, and I've been in touch with a lot of Cubans, and Cuba has the flexibility to offer a mixed curriculum. That means they take into consideration herbal medicine, phytotherapy. They try to mix, I would say, traditional medicine with conventional medicine. And they have what you call a great level of clinical. In United States, they are not so much clinical because they are so, I would say, digitalized medicine, computerized medicine. Cuba offer you great clinical. Clinical means the doctor is more exposed directly to the patient. They spend more time. The internship is long enough to give you a kind of great familiarity with the clinical symptoms of the patient. So they are more alert to detect at the early stage signs that will guide them, will give them a better therapeutic guidance. That at that level, the medicine is superior. You see, but it's the same classic curriculum, Rockefeller curriculum, because they're still using drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And the drug has side effect. All the drugs have side effect. So I hope that approach help us understand the difference between function and symptoms. When you address the symptom, let me give you now. That's why I'm glad that you brought that question, Chris. The symptoms, for example, if you have gastric ulcers, and I address only the symptom by giving you Maalox. Okay, take your Maalox and the symptom. A lot of people will go, they said, let me take apple cider vinegar that will shut down my gastric acidity. That doesn't make sense. Because you give the person the vinegar, apple cider vinegar, you give the Maalox, but the person doesn't change his habit to eat late. So the same problem will continue. The same dysfunction will persist. The body will not be able to produce the enzymes that are necessary to break down the food and to prevent the fermentation. And it also has a lot to do with the time. The time that the person chooses to eat is important because at that time, the stomach is not ready to assume the function of digesting that food because you don't have enough gastric secretions. There are a lot of things missing because of that. So this is the type of thing that we need to take into consideration. That's why that's what we call the language of the body. You develop the symptoms, the body is telling you, I'm not pleased with you because you forced me to eat late and I cannot have the enzymes. I'm mad. I'm going to hurt you. You're going to have headaches. You're going to have pain in your stomach, and you will not be able to think clearly. That's the way that's the language of the body. When you experience those symptoms, your discomfort, you're impatient, you're frustrated, you're mad all the time. Most of the time, when your stomach is not doing good, your mind is disturbed. And that those things happen systematically.
Doc, I have a question about two things. You spoke
Yes.
about the metabolic profile and the biological clock.
Yes.
Are those also considered language of the body?
Absolutely. The biological clock is so important, so important. The biological clock is telling you the body is functioning as its own disposition. The language of the body tells you that between 7 and 9, the body is ready to produce the highest concentration of gastric juices in the stomach. It is the time you should eat. At 9 o'clock, the body come and tell you, listen, I'm not going to go to work. We need energy. I'm going to increase the testosterone level. So the testosterone can stimulate your adrenal gland to produce cortisol. Cortisol will put into action what we call the catecholamines. The catecholamines are adrenaline and noradrenaline. You need those hormones to trigger the what we call the glycolysis. The glycolysis, you break down the glucose, and the glucose now enter the Krebs cycle at cellular level, and is going to produce ATP. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, give you the energy to do everything. That's the battery that the whole system now start running. This is what happens when you eat. But if you have your stomach empty between 7 and 9, you don't eat, you disrupt the function. The testosterone will come. No matter what you do, you can take a cup of coffee, cup of tea for breakfast. You're a foolish person. You will say, but I'm not a breakfast person. Of course, you cannot be a breakfast person. If your last meal, you take it last night at 10 o'clock in the evening. You don't need breakfast because the body says, well, this food that you ate at 10 o'clock in the evening has not been digested completely. And the stomach is loaded, congested. You need a cup of tea or a cup of coffee to push it down. So that's where we do everything in a kind of the wrong way. Let's put it this way.
So the work schedule should start at 9 then.
What you mean?
Work schedule, so you have enough time to have your breakfast, get it digested, and then start to work at 9.
Yes, and we see our parents don't respect the body function, and they cause the children to be hyper because they wake up the child at 5 o'clock in the morning to be in school at 7 or 8. This child, and at that time, the child needs to sleep because the body function requires that you be in bed at 5, at 2 in the morning, and at 5 in the morning. And you wake up that poor child to wake up at 5, and during the deep sleep, that's what we call the REM, REM, at 5 and at 2, this is the time that the child used to grow because the growth hormone increase, the secretion of the growth hormone increase. Let me tell you this. You see this Zoom we're having now? This is extremely important because we are destroying the lives of our children. And we adults, our parents don't know those things. They raise us in a way that affect our health right now. We are paying the price because of those, I would say, violation of the laws of the body, the disrespect toward the language of the body. We become responsible for a lot of chronic deficiencies because the growth hormone is active during your deep sleep, in particular for the baby. Don't you see the baby? Observe the baby. The baby eats every 3 hours or 2 hours. And the only thing it does, it eats, drink, and poop. That's the only, and go to sleep. So that's what the baby does during the period right after birth, so that the system can consolidate themselves, because this is at that moment during the sleep pattern that the baby secret produce this is function again, growth hormone that make the baby grow. That's why more the baby sleep, faster it grows. Those are laws and function that we need to know. And that's what we call the language of the body. So this is the greatest crime that many parents commit against their children, to wake them up in the morning at 5 o'clock to go to school.
I understand what you're saying, but I think it's the system because I guess if school started a little later, then they will wake them up a little later.
Yeah, that's why this is where again we have a great responsibility. The science exists. What I'm sharing with you is part of child development in psychology, and that part of anatomy and physiology. All the doctors know that. All the psychologists, they know, but nobody's doing nothing. They let the system establish rules that go against the well-being of humanity. So that's why that type of information, if any family can put their foot down and say, well, I'm going to keep my baby at home and I'm going to homeschooling my child until he's 18, you can do that. And or until he's 11, where he becomes strong. And at that time also, it's important to have a great understanding of what we call the puberty phase, because the child enters puberty around 8, 9. And this is, again, a new birth, because it's the new person is in the making. And it's important to pay attention to those things. We are destroying the lives of our children when we don't pay attention to the language of their body and the functions of their being. So that's why I said, by bringing this topic like that in a short time, usually I think we should do just 30 minutes, not much, because there's a lot of information to process. But initiating this process like that, talking about the language of the body, that help us more or less acquire. We will never be able to cover everything, but at least that help us put in pay attention to specific details that can improve our lives. Also, the language of the body. When you have headache, your body is speaking to you. When you're constipated, your body is speaking to you. When you have allergies, your body is speaking to you. But you need to understand which part of your body is speaking. For example, if you have headache, you can have many causes to that. Lack of oxygen, poor circulation, high blood pressure. All those are symptoms that can be responsible for the headache. Lack of sleep. If you don't sleep enough, you're going to have headache because you produce a lot of neurotoxins. So those are the language. The body is using the same symptom to indicate several different type of dysfunction. But you need to be intelligent enough, and not only every doctor. The first reaction of the doctor, that's why what we call the Rockefeller curriculum is dangerous. You go to the doctor, say, doctor, I have a headache. He's going to give you a painkiller. But the painkiller doesn't take into consideration the lack of oxygen, which is hypoxia. It doesn't take into consideration the fact that you're not sleeping enough. He just gives you a painkiller, but it doesn't remove the neurotoxins. It doesn't address the cause. And you will be, your liver congestion or liver dysfunction can cause the headache as well. So there are so many factors.
So Doc, would for instance hyperactivity in children and autism, would they be considered like like the body speaking on
Yes,
behalf of those children?
I love that with you. You have some good questions. Yes. As a matter of fact, when the child presents symptom of autism, it's just telling you, listen, my brain the neurotransmitters in my brain are not functioning properly, so I cannot remain focused too long. My attention span become extremely limited because there are some specific neurotransmitter missing. And it could be also that I don't have enough oxygen, I don't have enough neurotransmitters, and I may be suffering with brain inflammation or brain allergies. That's what autism is all about. Those three factors: lack of oxygen, brain inflammation, and chronic deficiencies. Well, there are a lot of research that have been made that reverse autism. And there are, of course, if the society here in St. Martin wanted to know about that, they would contact me. I'm a cognitive psychologist. I have a master in cognitive psychology. And there are a lot of books that address the autism, even Down syndrome, that has a mental impact. When you address, as a matter of fact, there is one of the young ladies here in St. Martin that because of her Down syndrome, she was having really poor, I would say, cognitive performance in school and poor results. But guess what? I put her on a program, and now she's the head of class with Down syndrome. But I just said, as to the parents, keep her on that program for the rest of her life because of her biochemical individuality. Down syndrome has to do with the biochemical individuality. And when you talk about biochemical individuality, you're talking about genetic disposition. It's the genes that are involved. All of us, we have a different genetic equipment. So we need to take into consideration that those specificities, that's what we talk about, biochemical individuality. You see, that's the beauty of it. It's just, we need to understand.
Wow.
And then,
This
yeah.
is really interesting, and I'm sure we could continue forever talking about this. But to come to close off, I want to go back to where we began. You spoke about seven. Seven is the number for perfection, and so on. So when we look at our different metabolic profile and we look at our biological clocks and we look about our chemical biochemical individuality and so on, I would assume I believe that everybody have a different one, but it's perfect for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I am perfectly perfect in my difference or something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And yes. And
Okay.
that's why you need to know exactly. And it has been established that because of your blood type, there's a set of food nutrients that are appropriate for you. And that's it. And you need to know what it is. And that's why you need to be educated. That's what I said, the key thing. And that's what I'm having that retreat in my center in St. Martin. I have a beautiful center in St. Martin.
Wow.
All the glory be to God. So you come and it's by the sea, and you have that massive concentration of negative ion. So from the moment that you begin to breathe,
Can you repeat the massive energy of what?
massive concentration of negative ions,
Oh, ions. Okay.
IONS, the negative
Got it.
ions that boost the immune system spontaneously. Imagine you come and spend 10 days with me, and every day for 10 days, you wake up, the breeze of the sea, you have two pools, and I can make available for you a specific tub. I don't want you to go to the sea because it's Atlantic Ocean. I don't want the currents to take you away, but we can make available for you portable a tub where you can put the seawater in and soak on the shore at the beach. So you are in the sea without being in the sea.
Wow.
And, yeah, and you go to school from 10 to 12 and from 2 to 4. And in the afternoon, you have concert, you have nice food, and you can have discussion between groups about the project, and they can address their condition because we will make assessment for them. And they're going to learn about their biochemical individuality, metabolic profile, and while they are learning about sexuality, nutrition, and spirituality. So many people are frustrated because they said, well, I have no man with me to really, but the man they're going to have with you is completely stupid about sexuality. He doesn't know what you call your erogenous zone. And your erogenous zone are the different location in your body that when you know where they are and you touch them, you can have a woman to experience orgasm without penetration. And the way you talk to the woman, the location of those spots, and also what we call the valence word. A valence word is what, when you are in love with somebody, you every day you need to nourish that person with valence word. Nobody knows those things. How many people use that? Most of the time, you end up with a man in your life or with a woman in your life. They begin to fight each other because they are stupid. You don't get together to fight each other. You get together to be happy and to enjoy each other. But there are problem of communication. And sexuality has a lot to do with that. Sexuality means the state of your gender. So because of your gender, you have a set of chromosomes that are different in each cell of your body. Number one. So your psyche is different just because of that. Your hormones are different and they have a different function because of that. So if your psyche, your disposition are different because of your gender, so you need to understand the language of your gender as well.
Yeah. Okay,
And
but
that's why many couple shipwreck.
so, but then in that case, you should come to that retreat as a couple. Because if one person of the couple is getting trained and the other one is not getting trained, then
No, exactly. That's exactly what I want to say. You don't need a couple. You need to be yourself. Because if you don't, your sexuality define you. It doesn't define your partner. The state of your gender define your personality. It does define your identity. So when your identity is well defined, then you know who you are, then you're in a better position to know who is good for you and who is not going to be good for you because you have a better idea of your personal identity. A lot of people, they get into partnership with people because they don't know themselves. And because they don't know themselves enough, they are unable to identify the other person they're going to connect with.
okay,
So,
but I understand what you're saying, but that sounds like it's good for single people. But imagine if you're already married. It would be best for the couple to come so both of them could go to school, get the training, learn about themselves, and make their marriages work.
that's for sure. And right there, you get a point. It's good for couples, it's good for single people as well, and particularly young people that intend to get married. So that's why a topic like that should be, I should have no place to put people. But what is important is people like you, like Chris, that have to be, that must have that level of awareness and to bring that information to those other people. The only thing I can do is what I do now because I don't do advertising. And it doesn't make sense for me. I'm not interested in that. But that's why with that Zoom, if you can make that Zoom, blast that Zoom to a lot of people that would be interested, this is what they're going to get. And a lot of things, you can change your sexuality through your nutrition because each organ of your body requires specific type of nutrients. You see, your ovaries need specific type of nutrients. Your uterus needs specific type of nutrients. Your clitoris need a specific type of nutrients. The valvula or your vagina needs specific type of nutrients. You see, and the sphincter of your genital system needs specific type of nutrients. Your breast needs specific type of nutrients. Your hormones in your brain, because many people think they make love with the genitals. No, you make love with your brain. You make love with your pituitary gland, so, and each section of yourself need that. So this is the type of program. You see, that's why I say sexuality, nutrition. And now nutrition also is connected with your spirituality. What is spirituality? Is your state of mind. Your mind is not your spirit. Big difference. Your mind is the expression, is the emanation. It's an emanation of your soul. Now, that emanation of your soul is a cognitive tool that your soul use to develop your spirituality. What is your spirituality? Is the level of interaction that you have with the Spirit of God that is in your nostril. Your spirituality, your level of spirituality is the affinity that you develop according to the stage of your mind, the extent of your understanding of the world around you, your personal connection with God. Because in Job 27, verse 3, it is said, the Spirit of God is in your nostril. So a lot of us, we go up, we die, never developing any type of intimacy with the Spirit of God in us. Because first, we don't know, ignorance. And second, our mind is not developed enough because we have too many taboos and ignorance. That's why the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Wow. This sounds like a very interesting retreat. So how, if someone wants to attend, what should they do?
Well, they will come to you and you will give them the registration form and the flyer explaining the retreat, and they will make the payment directly to my account in the United States.
Oh, I thought it would have made the payment to me.
They can make the payment to you, yes, and you will pay.
Just kidding,
You'll
just
give it
kidding.
to me. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Mhm.
Just kidding. But this retreat sounds great. It sounds
It's
like
it's a power.
you cannot leave the same.
No, it's impossible. It's a powerful experience, and we will go do a lot of sightseeing after that. Because imagine that you're going to study hard, and you're going to take care of yourself at the same time. It's a beautiful experience, and the environment is wonderful. It's really wonderful, but the seats are limited, and it's in March 15, so now we're getting really close, and I said probably by we don't have much time left because there's a lot of preparation to be made, and I'm encouraging people to register this week or next week, the latest, because people are coming. You see,
Before the end of February?
Yes, before the end of February, all registration must be made, because people are calling me from Canada, from United States, from California, because they want to come, get out of the winter and then come here for, yeah.
They're coming
So
for some heat.
yes, so that's why, and some heat, temperature and body heat too. As a matter of fact, it's good to come single. You may meet your girlfriend and boyfriend right there. Yeah, who
You might
knows?
meet somebody.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So
Wow, this was an interesting night, and I'm looking forward to many more interviews and discussions and reflections. Oh, a lot to think about. I'm sure when I come back, when we meet again, I will have to piggyback on some of the things we discussed, because I'm sure I haven't digested all yet. But I'm
of
gonna look
course,
at this video again, and I'm sure I'm gonna have some more questions for us to discuss in our next episode.
absolutely. It has been a pleasure to be with you tonight,
Wow.
and you've done a great job.
Thank you for the
And
knowledge, Doc.
yes, my pleasure, Chris. Thank you.